Patriotic Party. Is that the case?
Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord.
Mr. Bodo, are you able to tell the commission some of the duties you carry out as the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party?
My lord, as General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, I'm responsible for the general administration and operations of the party. By that, the National Steering Committee is responsible for the daily management of the party. That is, if you put it in a corporate setup, it's like the board of directors of the company, and the General Secretary is the Chief Executive Officer who implements decisions of the Steering Committee, the National Executive, and National Council of the party. And is also responsible for the entire operations of the party, including our external branches.
Very well. Mr. Bodu, on the 31st of January 2019, were you present anywhere in the Ayawaso West Wegon constituency?
Yes, my lord.
Where specifically did you find yourself in the constituency, and at what time?
I was in all the 137 polling stations on that day.
When did you start and when did you end?
Our operational center was in the constituency, Elkin Hotel, and I slept there. So I virtually started by 4 a.m., 5 a.m., ensuring that all our agents and support groups are in place before the start of the polls. So I virtually started by 5 a.m.
Now, there's been reports of heavy security presence at the polling stations on the day in question. Did that come to your attention at any point?
What I saw was that in addition to the police and occasionally some military people, depending on the polling station, we have immigration and the presence of prison service. I also saw additional support by some people with the inscription of National Security Council at the police station. But it was not that heavy. We've been involved in those operations for all this while, and I think that it is well represented.
Now, with your experience with elections and by-elections, would you say that it was normal to see national security operatives at polling stations?
It is normal. Most of these elections, you have overt and covert operations of the National Security Council or National Security around. Sometimes you don't see them because it's, they are not uniformed. Okay. Okay.
Now,
thank you, my lord.
in the course of your movement through the constituency, did you witness any incidents at all, being violent or otherwise?
No, my lord.
Has it subsequently come to your attention that a number of violent incidents occurred within the constituency?
It is only in Labawaleshi polling station, which is made up of 4 polling stations at that particular spot, that I heard on radio initially around 9:30 a.m. thereabouts that the NDC had said that they've withdrawn. So I quickly have to rush there to check what exactly may have happened.
And would you be able to share with the commission what your observation or observations were when you got to La Bawaleshi?
By the time I got there, CAM had returned. Voters were voting normally, filing in to vote in the 4 polling stations. But the presence of the security agencies were heavy in that polling station.
Are you able to tell the commission exactly when you arrived at Labawoleshi?
To be between 9:30 and 10 a.m. in between. Because I had in the morning gone to a few polling stations, have to come to our operational center by 9 because there was something that I need to deal with. Then it was at that point that I heard on radio that something has happened in that particular polling station. So I rushed there to see what exactly has happened.
Did you have polling agent or agents at the Labawoleshi polling station?
Yes, by our arrangement, we had 2 per polling station. So at that particular zone, if I should put it, we have 8 agents there, 2 representing each polling station.
Have you subsequently received reports of the happening at that polling station from your agents?
Not a report per se, but because I also went there, asked them about what has happened, and by what I was told, what happened outside the polling station. And we've told them that as a polling agent, your concentration should be on the polls. Because we've seen such things before where people cause distractions, and if you are not very careful as an agent, you lose track of what really is happening.
Now, there's been a number of videos around town, online, about violent incidents, shooting, a situation in which an MP was slapped. Have you seen any of that?
I've also seen some.
Now, some of the reports in town is that those incidents were caused by a group called the Invincible Force, which is related to the new Patriotic Party, masquerading on the day as national security. Have you also come across that?
I'm not in a position to know.
I mean, have you heard those reports?
Not exactly as you are putting it.
We have had Honorable Sam George, the MP in question, tell this commission that he has reason to believe that the men who were dressed in black and brown uniform and masked, who are said to be the perpetrators, were the Invincible Forces masquerading as national security. What have you got to say about that?
I'm not in a position to know that members of Invisible Forces masqueraded as national security operatives to perpetrate any violence. I'm not in a position to know that.
Do you know this or not? Because the commission has been informed that some members of Invincible Forces and other vigilante groupings have been enrolled into the national security. Do you know about that?
Not that as a party. We, national security, I think, have their own processes of recruitment and have their own qualification criteria and all that. So I don't know whether it is specifically to recruit members of a vigilante group. I'm not aware because it is not a strategy of the party to do so.
Mr. Bodu, do you know a gentleman called Double?
Gentleman called Double. Yes, I know.
How do you know him?
This is, I don't know whether exactly, because if you mention, I don't know whether it's the full name is Double. If it's a guy name, so to speak, you may have a lot of people called Double. And
very well. I mentioned
I'm
Double.
to be clear about that, yeah.
Because that is the name the commission has been given. According to Honorable Sam George, on the day in question, he saw a gentleman by the name of Double, who happened to be in a military uniform and operating alongside the national security operatives. So this is the man I'm asking you about. Do you know anybody by that name at all?
I will be grateful if I see the picture of the individual in question so that I will know whether it's the person we are talking about. Because
very well. Now, according to Honorable Sam George, this person by the name of Double is a former Invincible Forces member who is currently with the national security. Would you have any knowledge of that?
Without seeing who he is, it will be difficult for me to be able to conclude on that.
Now, Zabodu.
Yes, my lord.
Tripone, Talensi, Atiwa, and now Ayawaso West Wogon. All these are places where we've had electoral violence. Am I right?
Yes, you omitted Akwetia.
Very well, thank you. And all these were associated with by-elections. Is that the case?
Yes, my lord.
So then you will agree with me that for some time now, our by-elections, our elections in general, and by-elections in particular, are characterized by violence. Would you agree?
To a large extent, yes, my lord.
Now, Mr. Bodu, are you able as a political actor to tell the commission why these political violence happen?
In my honest view, it is needless for it to happen in the first place. Because most of these happenings sometimes are not directly related to the polling process. So, for instance, you take a place like Chereponi. In most of these by-elections, we agree with the police, particularly getting closer to the day of elections, to have rallies on separate days. It's a convention by political parties that a day before the actual elections, political parties don't campaign. So most often we pick the last 2 days before the elections. Political parties agree with the police mediating to have separate days for their rallies. In Chereponi in question, we had written to the police suggesting to them that we are having, it was the death of our Member of Parliament, Honorable Doris Sedu. We're having a funeral on Sunday, and we wish that the police grant us the opportunity to have a funeral on Sunday and in the evening have our rally. We got correspondence from the police agreeing on that date. The NDC a day before had also been given the opportunity to have their rally on Saturday. By the tail end of their rally, they announced that they were going. Coincidentally, the vice president then, who is now the former president of our country, Honorable His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, was the one who addressed their rally on Saturday. By the tail end of their rally, they again announced that they are going to have their rally on Sunday in front of the residence of our candidates. We complained to the police. We went as far as going to the commander at Yendi Divisional Police. Having received confirmation letter from them, we expected them to have told the NDC in plain words that you don't have the right to do so. What we heard from the police was that they've been instructed to provide security for both political parties to have their rallies on the same day. In the morning of the election, of the rally, as we were putting together, erecting our canopies and speakers for the rally, the NDC organized route march in the morning and decided to walk through where we are having our program, and that resulted in what we saw. So it was needless if the police or the security agency had been firm in ensuring that what has been agreed on is respected. I think that wouldn't have gotten where we got to. Another example is the Akwitia by-election, for instance. It was just 6 polling stations. It wasn't even a by-election, it was a runoff of just 6 polling stations because there had been violence in those polling stations that could not allow the election to complete on the set date. There was total breakdown of security. People were maimed to the extent that on the day of elections, one of our polling agents, who is a member of parliament, Honorable Damboche, was asked by the NDC, supporters that are massed up at the polling station, holding machetes, all sorts of offensive weapons, insisting that they are not going to accept Damboche to be our polling agent. And my lord, the security agents were present. They made sure Damboche is moved from the place as our agent. And the subsequent atrocities that was meted was done in the presence of the security agent. So I think that firm insistence of agreed positions by our mediator, as the national security apparatus, is one of the reasons for some of these things occurring.
Now, you've mentioned the police twice in two different incidents. We've had high hierarchies of the police come through, and we have been informed that politicians do not allow the police to perform their duties. What do you have to say about that?
We in the New Patriotic Party don't have even the authority to decide not to allow the police to perform their duties. I don't know if other political parties have that right and authority not to allow the police to perform their duties.
Now, once again, as a political actor and with your experience, what do you think we can do as a nation to prevent some of these electoral violence and clashes?
First of all, I think that there's a need for the security agencies to assert their authority. There's a need for them to be fair and firm. There's a need for them to set examples of some of these things that come up. Clearly people are seeing. Clearly people do things that run counter to established norms. And examples must be made from them in order to deter others who are incubating the idea of also getting themselves involved in such acts. I think that if this firmness is seen by all, and also this process, for instance, is more or less the first time in our history as a country, particularly the Fourth Republican Constitution, where things have gone wrong, so to speak, and the government has taken the bold step in trying to also
So this was what the executives of the party feared, that the supporters will be agitated. Exactly, that is what is happening here. These supporters were stationed over there across the road, and then they gradually moved closer to the police headquarters, just because their chairman is still waiting at the reception of the CID headquarters, which have not been attended to by the police CID. So this is what they are doing. They are agitated now, and then they are calling for the CID to immediately attend to the chairman of the party. So this was not the original place that was given to them to